morning sky over Dubai glowed in shades of gold and rose as Flight 482 prepared for departure. The Boeing 737 stood on the tarmac like a metal bird waiting to soar, its engines humming softly as passengers boarded one by one. The air was filled with the usual airport symphony, rolling suitcases, boarding calls, and the faint aroma of fresh coffee drifting from the terminal. Sofia Alvarez, a 28-year-old flight attendant, greeted each passenger with her signature calm smile. She had been flying for 5 years, yet every takeoff still made her heart race, not out of fear, but out of quiet respect for the sky. She loved the freedom of flight, the way clouds looked like oceans of light, and how every journey carried 1,000 untold stories. "Welcome aboard, sir. Seat 12A to your right," she said politely, helping an elderly man with his coat. "Thank you, dear," he replied with a warm smile. Inside the cabin, the atmosphere was peaceful. Children giggled as they pressed their faces to the windows. A young couple whispered excitedly about their honeymoon. Business travelers tapped away on laptops, already lost in their work. Everything was as normal as it could be on a bright Tuesday morning. When the doors closed and the seatbelt sign lit up, Sofia took her position for takeoff. The captain's voice came through the intercom, confident and composed. "Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is Captain Harris speaking. We'll be cruising at 32,000 feet with a smooth flight to London. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the journey." The engines roared, the runway blurred, and moments later, Flight 482 lifted into the sky. As the plane leveled off, Sofia and the other attendants began their routine. Coffee was served, meals prepared, and passengers settled into the rhythm of the flight. The smell of roasted coffee beans mixed with the faint hum of the engines, creating an oddly soothing harmony. In the cockpit, everything appeared normal. Captain Harris chatted with his co-pilot, First Officer Reynolds, about the clear weather and upcoming tailwinds. It was supposed to be an easy flight, 4 hours of smooth sailing across the clouds. But fate, as always, had its own flight plan. 2 hours later, the plane flew over the edge of the Arabian Sea. Sofia was pouring tea for a passenger when she felt a subtle vibration under her feet. She paused just for a second. The vibration grew stronger. A cup rattled on the tray, then another. The passengers looked around in confusion. "Is that turbulence?" someone asked nervously. Sofia forced a calm smile. "Just a little bump, nothing to worry about." But deep down, her instincts stirred. Something didn't feel right. Suddenly, the plane jolted sharply, sending a few cups crashing to the floor. Gasps filled the cabin. Sofia grabbed the overhead handle to steady herself. Her heart pounded as she looked toward the cockpit door. Then, through the intercom, came the captain's voice, cutting out mid-sentence. "Ladies and gentlemen, we seem to have a slight static." The line went dead. For the first time in her career, Sofia felt the sky turn silent. The Boeing 737 trembled violently, its lights flickering as oxygen masks dropped from the ceiling. Gasps and cries filled the cabin. Sofia's training kicked in. She steadied herself, forcing her voice to stay calm, even as fear rose in her throat. "Everyone, please remain seated. Put on your oxygen masks immediately." Her words trembled only slightly. The passengers obeyed, fumbling with the dangling yellow masks. The low hiss of oxygen filled the air as the plane dipped slightly to the left. Sofia's instinct screamed, "Something is terribly wrong." She turned toward the cockpit door, normally off limits, but now every second counted. Her shoes slid slightly on the cabin floor as she hurried forward, pushing the service cart aside. "Captain? Captain Harris?" she called, knocking once, then again. No response. Through the small window on the door, she saw something that made her blood run cold. The captain wasn't moving. Sofia swiped her keycard, yanked the door open, and stepped inside. The scene was chaos. The captain's body slumped over the controls, his hands limp, eyes closed. The autopilot light flickered uncertainly. Beside him, First Officer Reynolds was gasping for air, clutching his chest as the altitude warning alarm blared. Red lights flashed across the control panel. "Captain!" Sofia shouted, shaking his shoulder, but he didn't respond. His headset had fallen, dangling uselessly from the console. The co-pilot looked at her with fading strength. "Cabin pressure. Failure. Need Oxygen." His voice was barely a whisper before his head rolled back. Sofia's heart pounded. She glanced around wildly. The blinking displays, the sharp beeping of alarms, the faint tilt of the horizon outside. It was all overwhelming. She'd been inside the cockpit before, but never like this. Never alone. Her breath came fast and shallow. Then she saw the radio panel glowing faintly. Somewhere in her memory, she heard her instructor's voice from years ago. "In an emergency, communicate. Always call for help." With trembling fingers, Sofia picked up the headset and pressed the button. "Mayday! Mayday! This is Flight 482! Both pilots are down! I repeat, both pilots are down!" Static crackled back at her, followed by a calm, firm voice. "Flight 482, this is Dubai Control. Please confirm, who is speaking?" She swallowed hard. "This is Flight Attendant Sofia Alvarez. The captain and first officer are unconscious." I don't know what to do," her voice broke. For a moment, there was only the roar of the engines and the unending shriek of the warning alarm. Then the controller's tone softened. "Sofia, listen to me carefully. You're doing great. Can you see if the autopilot is engaged?" Her eyes darted to the glowing switch. "It's flashing. Good. Don't touch it yet. Keep the plane steady. We're here with you." Sofia exhaled shakily, trying to steady her trembling hands. Behind her, passengers were crying, praying, and clutching one another. For the first time in her life, Sofia realized she was the only one left between 150 souls and the open sky. The cockpit, once filled with confident voices and calm control, had fallen completely silent, except for the sound of her own racing heartbeat. The cockpit was eerily quiet, except for the constant wail of warning tones and the deep rhythmic hum of the engines. Red lights blinked across the control panels like heartbeats in the dark. Sofia's hands hovered above the controls, her palms slick with sweat. "Sofia, listen carefully," came the calm voice through her headset. "I'm Air Traffic Controller James Peterson. You're doing great. Just keep the wings level and stay calm." Her throat was dry. I've never done this before," she whispered, staring at the maze of buttons and levers in front of her. "You don't have to be a pilot," James replied steadily. "You just have to follow my voice." For a moment, she closed her eyes. The cabin behind her was filled with muffled sobs and whispered prayers. 150 people, mothers, children, strangers, were counting on her. The thought made her heart ache, but it also lit something fierce inside her. She would not let them die. Sofia lowered herself into the captain's seat. The leather felt heavy, sacred. The control yoke shook slightly in her hands as turbulence rippled through the aircraft. She tightened her grip and tried to steady it. "Good," James said. "You've got control. Now check the horizon indicator. Keep the blue on top, brown on bottom." She scanned the glowing screen, slowly adjusting the yoke until the plane leveled. Outside, black clouds swirled across the windshield, lit by quick bursts of lightning. Rain began to streak against the glass, blurring the world beyond. "Sofia, reduce altitude to 20,000 feet. Turn the knob on your left. Yes, that one. Perfect." She followed every instruction, her breathing measured but shallow. Each move felt like stepping through darkness with only a single beam of light to guide her. Minutes passed. The storm intensified. Lightning illuminated the cockpit in flashes of white. Thunder rolled across the sky. A young flight attendant, Maya, burst into the cockpit. "Sofia, passengers are panicking." "What do I tell them?" Sofia didn't look up, her focus locked on the instruments. Tell them I'm flying us home." Maya hesitated, then nodded and disappeared back into the cabin. The plane jolted again, harder this time. The altitude dropped suddenly. Sofia felt her stomach lurch. She fought the controls, her arms burning from the effort. "You're doing fine," James said in her ear. "Ease back gently, just a little." "Yes, that's it." The altimeter needle steadied. Sofia exhaled in relief. "James," she said softly, "how much fuel do we have left?" A pause crackled over the radio. "Not much. We need to bring you down soon." Sofia's eyes widened as she looked through the rain-soaked window. Far below, faint city lights flickered through the clouds, a promise of safety. But between her and the ground stood a violent storm and a mountain of fear. She thought of the passengers, of the elderly man who had thanked her at boarding, of the little girl who'd waved as Sofia helped her buckle in. Their faces flashed in her mind like a slideshow of hope. "I can do this," she whispered to herself. "Say again, Sofia." I said. "I can do this." She pushed forward, steadying the plane through the chaos. Every second felt eternal, every gust of wind a battle. But as lightning flared and thunder rolled, the impossible began to feel just slightly within reach. One flight attendant, one calm voice, and one Boeing 737 fighting gravity together. For the first time since the crisis began, the plane held steady in the storm. The storm had thinned into scattered clouds, but the air was still rough and unpredictable. The city lights below blinked like stars on the ground, growing larger with every passing minute. Sofia gripped the control yoke so tightly that her knuckles turned white. Her headset crackled. "Flight 482, you're lined up with runway 27. You're doing beautifully, Sofia. Keep your descent steady." James's calm voice guided her like a lighthouse in the dark. Her heartbeat pounded in her ears. She could feel the weight of every soul behind her. 150 lives breathing in rhythm with her trembling hands. Every dip, every turn, every flicker of the instruments mattered. Flaps. "Flaps, yes," she muttered to herself, recalling what James had said minutes earlier. She reached for the lever and gently pulled. The plane's nose lifted slightly, slowing its descent. The runway lights glowed ahead, two shining rows of safety stretching into the night. "You're on glide path, flight 482, James said softly. "Almost there. Trust yourself." Tears blurred her vision. "Copy that," she whispered. The cockpit smelled faintly of burnt circuitry and adrenaline. Warning lights still blinked across the control panel, but she ignored them. Her entire world had narrowed down to the blinking red numbers, the white runway, and the hope that this metal giant would obey her. As the plane descended through 1,000 feet, a gust of wind slammed into the fuselage. The jet tilted dangerously to the left. Gasps erupted from the cabin. Sofia fought the yoke with all her strength. "Wings leveled, Sofia!" "You've got it! Ease it back! Steady!" Her arms shook, but she pulled back just enough. The plane steadied. At 500 feet, the ground lights raced toward her like a flood of gold. The cabin fell silent. No one dared to breathe. Sofia's eyes locked on the runway. Come on," she whispered. The altimeter ticked down. 100 feet. 50, 30, then impact. The wheels screeched against the tarmac, bouncing once, twice. A violent shudder ran through the cabin. Sofia fought to keep control, pushing the brakes, guiding the aircraft straight down the center line. Outside, emergency lights flashed red and blue. Fire trucks and ambulances waited like sentinels. Finally, after what felt like forever, the Boeing 737 rolled to a stop. A deafening silence filled the air. Then it broke into screams of joy, laughter, and tears. Passengers cried, hugged strangers, clapped their hands raw. Some whispered prayers of gratitude. Others simply stared at Sofia in awe. Sofia's hands were still frozen on the controls. For a long second she couldn't move, couldn't even breathe. Then she felt it, the soft patter of tears on her cheeks. "Flight 482, James's voice came through, trembling now. "You did it. You're on the ground, Sofia. You brought them home." The paramedics rushed in moments later. The unconscious pilots were carried out, oxygen masks pressed to their faces. Reporters would soon flood the airport, but in that moment, Sofia wasn't thinking of fame or headlines. She just sat there, trembling, staring at the runway lights fading into the mist. One of the passengers approached the cockpit door, voice shaking with emotion. "Miss, you saved us," she turned, offering a faint, exhausted smile. "No," she said quietly. "We saved each other." Outside, the first rays of dawn broke over the horizon, painting the sky in gold. That sunrise would be remembered across the world, the morning when a flight attendant named Sofia Alvarez landed a Boeing 737 alone, saving 150 lives.